Welcome to the Supreme Love Project, where you learn to love supremely so you can live supremely. This is a Power Hour. This is the place where you can get the information you need to heal the terrors in your soul and launch a revolution in your life. Get ready. Take notes. Now, here's your host, Janine Staples.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. This is Janine Staples. You have reached another Supreme Love Project, and this is the Cold Crush Teleseminar. We are on our next day with Tandy Elisala. Tandy, did I pronounce your name correctly?
You got it, Janine.
Oh, my gosh, that's great. That was my first try. Tandy Elisala from TandyElisala.com. She is the founder and director, the president, the guru over Center for Inspiring Greatness. Tandy, welcome to Cold Crush and to the Supreme Love Project.
Oh, thank you, Janine. Thank you. I am so honored to be here and to share this time and space with you and with all of our participants.
Well, we are honored to have you. I want to jump right into our conversation. I want to know more about you. I want our guests, who are, by the way, tuning in from 11 different countries, from all over the world with us right now to share space and time with us. I want them to really know who you are, Tandy. So please take a minute and tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what brought you to your work.
You bet. Oh, wow. That's a great question, Janine. My goodness. Okay. So I help empower women to live their lives with passion and purpose, to be confident and courageous as they discover their passion and they take action. I inspire women to love themselves first, because self-love is the best love. And I help women to lead a life that matters, to really create a legacy beyond themselves, and to ensure that at the end of their life that they can feel peaceful and confident that they truly live their life full out. And a little bit about my background. I am a 4-time cancer thriver. I left my 25-year executive cushy position office to take care of both of my parents full-time simultaneously for very different reasons. My father for traumatic brain injury and physical injuries as a result of a massive accident he was in, and my mother for breast cancer, kidney failure, and mental illness. So I did that for 2.5 years until their respective deaths. And I have been through financial ruin. I've been through divorce. I've been through domestic violence. I've been through, as I mentioned, cancer and caregiving and shifting careers and more. And what really inspires me to do this work, Janine, is being able to help others and family caregivers too, to avoid the mistakes that I made, to learn from my mistakes. I like to say I made the mistakes so you don't have to. And if there's, people out there that are resonating with any of this or have been through any of this, you know what I mean. It's a challenge sometimes, and I love to help people build their resilience muscle and to, recognize that they can get through anything and that they have the power within to be, do, and have anything.
Wow. That's so amazing. I just want to recap what you described. So you yourself are a 4-time cancer survivor.
Yep.
And you cared for both of your parents before they passed away.
Yes.
From different illnesses. And you learned what it meant to be a caretaker, not only for yourself, but also for, your close relatives, the people who brought you into the world. Tandy, that is phenomenal. That's an amazing story. I can see how and why the Center for Inspiring Greatness is so crucial and so critical. People are living longer, and simultaneously there is an uptick in the ways that disease operate and work in the body because our bodies are here on the earth longer. And so caregiving and learning how to manage some of the emotional waves that go with that kind of work is just, it's so very important. Yeah, thank you for that work.
Of course. You're welcome.
And so I'm reminded as you're talking of a part of my story, I have not been a caregiver, but I have witnessed caregiving my whole life. My mother is the quintessential caregiver, probably on par with you. She took care of my father while he suffered from congenital heart failure for years until he died. She took care of my sister, who was diagnosed with breast cancer at 38, very young, and passed away before her 42nd birthday. And to bury a parent and a child, and then to take care of her own father and other people that she cares about. She has talked to me a little bit, and with my limited understanding about what it means to be a caregiver and to say those goodbyes and to do that hard work. It's emotional work. It's physical work. It's logistical work, just managing all those appointments, medications, equipment. There's so many things that happen. So one of the things I want to talk to you about is a question that's first up in our queue. It's about how so many of us who are caregivers are really intelligent people. We often are able to do caregiving because we've run households, we've run businesses, we've run sports teams, we've run firms, management homes, management centers. And so there's a lot of ways that smart women do work in the world, and yet some of the work that we do in the world impedes our ability to experience true joy. And so my question is, what is the first mistake smart women make in our caregiving? And then how does this mistake impact our ability to experience true joy in our lives? We want to uncover that.
Yeah. So the first mistake that even smart women make is putting other people first. So society, I think, mistakenly tells us, particularly as women, you gotta put the family first, you gotta put your kids first, you gotta put everybody else first ahead of yourself, and make sure that everybody else is taken care of. And particularly as, whether you are raising your own family or you're helping to take care of loved ones or both, you're in that sandwich generation of doing both. It's putting other people first is a huge mistake, because ultimately our ability to take care of our loved ones, our children, our ability to live, our ability to thrive depends on our commitment to ourselves, to put ourselves first, to exercise self-care. And that is just so incredibly important, Janine. I mean, even, as both of my parents were in different hospitals across the valley, 40 to 50 miles away, and I was their voice, and needing to take care of them and make sure that everything was taken care of. And being a single mom raising 3 kids, I still made time for myself. Even if it was 5 minutes outside the hospital, walking around the building, or sitting on a bench outside, just breathing in the beautiful air, or feeling like watching the trees and just taking deep breaths, whatever it is, it's important that you take that time for you. Otherwise, in some way, shape, or form, at some point down the road, you won't be able to take care of other people because you will be unable to take care of yourself. Something will happen, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, in some way, shape, or form. The universe will throw you that 2x4. So you've got to put yourself first.
Yeah. So not putting yourself first, that's the first mistake. And so what I want to know is, how in the world did you do that? Like I said, I've not been a caregiver yet, and yet I can imagine, obviously from observing my mother and my grandmother doing that caregiving work in the world, having 2 people you love dearly who raised you, whom you respect and you want to advocate for on different sides of a city, in grave health, raising 3 children alone by yourself in another part of the city, how in the world did you fight being pulled in different directions and avoid making the mistake of putting other people before you? Or did you make that mistake, and how did you turn it around?
Sure. I made that mistake plenty of times. And yet, before I became a caregiver for my parents, I had a solid footing, Janine. I had a solid foundation of self-care. And I knew and understood the importance of it. So I had that foundation before going into the caregiving situation, at least caregiving for my parents. So for me, it was, I won't say easy, but I understood the implications enough that the pain of not doing it, I knew was going to be greater than the time it takes to do it. So whether it was, meditating, whether it was just walking for 5 minutes, whether it was, my gratitude practice, whether it was any number of things, I just did it. And I also trained my kids to know that when mommy has her door closed, or mommy's doing this, or she's got her eyes closed and she's in this room, like, leave her alone. Unless something's burning down, just leave her alone. And so, yet, even with that, I still, there were times that I definitely put, my family first, and my health suffered as a result. It always suffered.
Yeah. And Tandy, that's a really important idea that I hope that the listeners are taking away from this conversation. And it's that when we say put yourself first, I think because a lot of us as women are trained to maybe overthink things or heighten ideas, we imagine that results in a very selfish, self-serving outcome. And what you've just described is actually a very compassionate and respectful outcome. Putting yourself first could mean taking a whole day to go to a spa or go on a retreat, or it could mean taking 5 minutes to be in your room with your door closed without anyone asking you for anything, to write in your journal or to look out the window at something that you see as beautiful. And a lot of times I think we miss the idea that 5 minutes can be very recuperative. That 5 minutes can actually have a really big impact and help us to connect with true joy. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely, Janine. And it can also really serve us well in having a clear head to make the difficult decisions that we need to make.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Okay, so that leads us to the second mistake. Okay, so what is because I know there are 3, so what is the second mistake women make in caregiving, and how does that mistake keep us distant from others, from ourselves and from others?
Well, you just mentioned distant, and that actually is perfect lead-in because it's distractions. It's constantly looking for the next thing. It's knowing that you need to or you want to sit with, say, if you're caregiving, sit with your loved one and ask them questions about their life or play that game with them or help them to do X. Yet you've got laundry, you've got dishes, you've got the floor, you've got the kids, you've got the cooking, you've got, you name it, right? There's so many distractions around us. And when we are not living in the moment, and that's the opposite of this, right? It's living in the moment. It's taking that time to not let those distractions, to not let the distractions of daily life and all of those responsibilities that we feel in the world and around us to compete with the need to live in the moment. I mean, one of the most beautiful things, Janine, that I did as a caregiver was I helped my dad, who was always in his head, go from his head to his heart and share things with me that he had never shared with anyone. And I helped him be at peace. I helped him to hone his legacy. I helped him to get clear about his life and his impact in the world and the impact that he had on me and my kids and my sister. And had I let the distractions of daily life the laundry, the floors, the dishes, the cooking, all that crap that at the end of the day doesn't matter, envelop me, we would not have made that time together to live in the moment and truly be present with each other.
Right, right. I got it. And Tandy, that just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I'll tell you why. It's because I guess I lean into type A. I'm very organized. I like my lists. I like to cross things off. I like to do things in order. I don't necessarily stick to a schedule all the time, but I have one. And I feel better when things are taken care of, like the laundry, like the dishes, like the clean bathroom, like, the grocery shopping, etc. And it is so easy because of what that is called, that woman's work. I'm putting that in air quotes for those of you who are wondering. It's that women's work or woman's work that can create distractions where we miss those sacred moments that you just described. Those are precious, precious moments. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they don't take that long.
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay. That's brilliant. So what about the third? So I want to understand the third mistake women make when we give our time, our energy, our attention to others, and how this mistake, this one in particular, creates depression, anxiety, and that crushing in our soul, that crushing feeling.
Yes. So the third one is about fear and perfectionism. I kind of call it the perfectionism, procrastination, is all about fear. And, and fear really can be paralyzing and it can hold us back. And fear can prevent us from making decisions that we know we need to make, or, really connecting with the true essence of who we are. And perfectionism is a way that we allow fear to manifest, and it will show up, for us as women in terms of, we're always out, right, for the perfect eyebrows, the perfect body, the perfect handbag, the perfect outfit, the perfect this, the perfect that, or the perfect partner, the perfect kids. And a lot of times we are comparing ourselves to other people's highlight reels. Like in social media. I love social media, but social media is really all about people's highlights. It's not about real life and what's happening in our lives every day, 24/7. And perfectionism shows up in our businesses, businesswomen, and as a recovering corporate America person, I can say this too. Like, shows up as, I want everything, all these, enhancements to our system, computer system. I want them all released tomorrow. Or, as a business owner, I want to, I need to have my perfect website before I release that program. Oh, wait, no. I need to have all the perfect testimonials in place, and then I'll be ready to launch. Oh, wait, no, I need an opt-in. I need a freebie, and then I'll be able to. And it just manifests and manifests. And the more that we are unconscious and allow fear to drive us, it creates depression, it creates anxiety, it creates, panic, it creates, it can really, truly crush our souls because we're not truly living.
Right. It's so much of what you're saying, Tandy, is resonating with me, and I believe it's resonating with people in the Supreme Love Project. I call us the Supremes, and I think about your community and the community of the other women and men who are speaking in Cold Crush teleseminar. So many of us who are drawn to these kinds of conversations do struggle with perfectionism. I include myself in that number wholeheartedly, 100%. There's a way that there's an illusion of safety in perfectionism. We can, if we present a flawless appearance or a flawless affect or a flawless course of action or a flawless set of behaviors, then we're safe somehow. And really what we're imagining is that we're safe from ridicule, from criticism, we're safe from rejection, abandonment, and yet life is just so messy. Caregiving is messy. Forming relationships with ourselves and with other people, it's just so full. It's full of so many twists and turns, so many ups and downs. The idea of perfectionism as a total worldview is a recipe for disaster. It is exactly what you described. It's a recipe for depression, anxiety, and a crushing aspect of the soul. We want to crush that coldness that gets built up around our soul when we do exercise or attempt to exercise perfectionism. And it really, it does all that. The act of perfectionism does all that work and that detrimental work because it's not attainable.
Right.
It's not attainable. And it's also not necessary.
Exactly. Exactly, Janine. Exactly. And it's in that, not only not attainable, but it's, you're going to constantly, churn and run around and constantly chase it. And it's never going to be caught, because perfectionism is impossible. It's impossible.
Right.
And it's not realistic. And one person's idea of perfectionism is another person's idea of realism, or, it's ludicrous when you think about it. Like when you take yourself outside of your life and you're looking at the world for other people, you can see it so clearly in others, but it's sometimes difficult to see that within ourselves.
Absolutely. And I want to caution as we talk here, Tandy, and I want to make sure that we're being clear and fair. And I'm so glad you brought up that last point. There is a way of being real for some people that could look like perfectionism to other people, and there's a way of being real for others that looks like a total aversion to quote-unquote perfectionism. So this isn't necessarily about pointing fingers, and I think I say that because I think a lot about the cultural and racialized nuances of perfectionism. I come from a long line of Black women who pride themselves on an exceptionally high standard of interaction, exceptionally high standard for education, for, just physical presentation, articulation, etc. And that's our real, like that's what we do. And so, and then there are other people's ways of doing reality. I think the key is when we're thinking about this third mistake that women make when they're giving care to themselves and when they're giving care to other people is if your perfection is causing you to erupt in heart palpitations or to devolve to sleeplessness or to snap out at people or to be unyielding and unrelenting with yourself and criticism and condemnation, then your perfectionism is toxic.
That's right.
It's not working.
That's
not working
right.
for you.
That's right.
It's a boundary violation.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So I said that sort of mumbling under my breath. And the Supreme Love Project, the people who are the Supreme Love Project Facebook group know what I'm talking about. I am really intent on promoting healthy boundaries for women. Tandy, I just learned about healthy boundaries maybe, 6 years ago. I started to get a real grasp of what it means. I'm an adult woman. I just learned this, how to be an effective boundary setter. And we talk about that in the Supreme Love Project. I'm sure you talk about that in the Center for Inspiring Greatness. And there's a key to it when you're doing care for yourself and when you're doing care for other people. Learning how to be a healthy, consistent, benevolent, compassionate, and strong boundary setter is, I cannot overstate the value of healthy, happy boundaries. What do you think about that?
Oh my gosh. And that is one of my top tips. You took it right out of my mouth, Janine. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Boundaries
right.
is key. It is key. And, without, I mean, oh man, I'll tell you what, boundaries. I mean, it's so many people, so many smart people don't know how to set boundaries or don't. And, you know, boundaries, I was talking with a friend about this last week. Boundaries are so important for us as we raise our children. Because,
that's right.
You know, so many parents that don't have boundaries, that don't you raise their children with proper boundaries, don't serve themselves, they aren't serving society, and they certainly are not serving their children. And, you know, children crave boundaries. My kids are 27, 23, and almost 21 now. And we recently, I have done interviews with my kids, and I did them separately, and I asked them different questions to kind of help me hone my legacy. And all three of them emphatically said that the one thing that they really, really appreciated about me, particularly raising them as a single mom, was that I had boundaries, and they respected those boundaries, and they are better adults, and they are better human beings as a result of boundaries. And I sometimes I see kids out in the world, Janine, and I'm just like, oh dear Lord, oh my gosh, like they do not have boundaries. And I think, you know, parenting certainly doesn't come with a manual, and caregiving certainly doesn't come with a manual, but the boundaries is, it's so foundational. And, you know, It was interesting, Janine, because I you know, always obviously looked up to my parents. I respected my parents, my elders, and I had a problem. I had zero problem creating boundaries at work and creating boundaries with my kids. But when it came to taking care of my parents, when I moved them in with me and the kids, I had a problem creating boundaries around space. And it wasn't until I got it, like I realized that because I was in touch with my feelings and my body and different, you know, symptoms and things like that, I was like, wait a minute. This is happening because I didn't set boundaries with my parents. And I felt bad for my parents because they lost their house, they lost their independence, they lost pretty much everything. And so I felt bad in setting space boundaries. But when I did, Janine, when I sat them down and I said, look, this is not working for me. Like, you spewing all your stuff all over the common areas and all over the this and that and the this and that. It's just not working for me. So here are the rules of engagement. So every day, here's what's going to happen. And at the end of each day, if this, and this is still happening, I'm going to put it in a garbage bag, and I'm either going to throw it away or I'm going to put it on your bed, depending on how I'm feeling that day. So if you want to take that chance, you go right ahead. But this is what's going to happen. And here's the key about, Janine, about boundaries, and I know you would agree. It's about following through.
Yeah.
You've got to do the follow-up. Yeah. So, boundaries is absolutely key. You bet.
Yeah. And I just want to add, there's something that I talk about in the Supreme Love Project and in the course that I developed, is that boundaries are physical. Just the way that you just described, Tandy, they're physical, they're about space, and they are also about emotion. There are emotional boundaries and psychic boundaries that we need to also put in place and be very clear about, first and foremost with ourselves, and then with the people we're sharing space with, or we're giving space to, and then following all of that articulate, like that clear, definitive articulation and corresponding action with consistency is absolutely key, because if we're not clear about our boundaries, then we can't be clear about our relationships. We can't. Right. And it doesn't matter who you're talking about, whether it's your children when they knew that mommy's door was closed and you were taking that 5 minutes to work in your journal in the morning, or with your parents when they knew that the common area was shared space and needed to remain clean and free of clutter, and what the rules were. It also pertains to people that you're in relationship with, it really starts with you. If there is, for example, someone might be listening, if you're going through a breakup or a divorce, and you are spending an inordinate amount of time pining and obsessing over that person or that relationship, or ruminating over a past error or perceived transgression, and it goes on and on and on and on and on for weeks, months, even years, that spin cycle of pain, it means that you have a lack of boundaries.
That's right.
You could be sitting at home in your bedroom by yourself, looking out the window, pining for someone that you broke up with 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And I can say this because I'm one of those people. I used to do that. And I still have a tendency to go back into that. But now that I've had healthy boundaries, I don't. And it's because when you have a healthy boundary, you give yourself parameters within which to grieve that are particular to you, that are healthy for you, that are reasonable and generative for you. And you have a set of methods in place through which you can guide yourself through that process, like a good partner to yourself and a good parent to yourself, and not make anyone else responsible for your feelings, not make anyone else responsible for your health, not make anyone else responsible for your resources. That's about having a healthy emotional balance. It's about a psychological and emotional, boundary that has very little to do with anything physical. Do you know what I'm saying, Tandy? Like, are you?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I'm shaking my head like, oh my gosh, yes. Yes. Mic drop, yes.
And it's so key when we're talking about Cold Crush. This Telestart seminar is all about healing from the inside out. Yes. And so it's our internal narratives, it's our internal monologues that we have to get clear about, that we have to illuminate, that we have to take out of the shadows, and we have to be really honest about. And then we really need to develop, just as you're doing, Tandy, a set of practices, a set of awarenesses and consciousness that allows us to heal from some of those old practices in real time. And
that's right.
Doing healthy boundaries is a huge, huge part of this process. And like I said, I want you to write this down, ladies, if you're listening to us talk. Your healthy boundaries are physical, just the way Tandy described, and they are emotional and psychological, just the way that I've described. There are several sets of boundaries that you need to have. Several sets.
Yes.
That's really great.
Yes.
And it's really great. So then I want to make sure that we give ourselves time to go into this idea about getting clear about how these 3 mistakes, and we've talked about putting other people before us. We've talked about getting distracted from the monotony and the minutiae of life, from seizing those like really powerful moments. We've talked about fear-mongering and perfectionism. So how do these 3 mistakes that I just described that Tandy has given to us, Tandy, how do they show up in our lives, and how do we turn it around? How do we get out of the habit of these mistakes?
Oh, that's a fabulous question, Janine. So we get out of the habit of these mistakes by being aware, because awareness is the first step. If you are aware, you're listening to this and you're going, oh my gosh, you can resonate with what Janine and I are saying here. And you're like, wow, I think I do put other people first. Or I am allowing distractions to prevent me from living in the moment with my children, with my partner, with my kids, with my parents, with my whoever. And I am allowing perfectionism and fear-mongering to prevent me from taking imperfect action. I think, A, being aware is key. B, setting boundaries. Start small, but create boundaries for yourself. And that is really, really key. The next idea I have around this is having a daily success ritual of some kind. I mentioned when we were talking about caregiving and putting other people first that I had a solid foundation of self-care, and that served me well. And a daily success ritual will help you set the intention for the day. it helps you. It's preferably done during the day, but if you need to do it at night, do it at night. But it sets the intention, and it helps you stay balanced and stay connected to yourself and to what's important in life. And one of the things that I absolutely love as part of my daily success ritual is a gratitude practice. And I used to have a gratitude journal with the kids, and we would do all kinds of things around that. And now I have a success jar. And what I do, Janine, is at the end of each day, I take whatever random piece of paper is around, and I write down one thing that went well that day, or one thing I'm thankful for. And I throw it in the jar. And then at the end of the year, on or around New Year's Eve, I have a self-love fest. And I go through each one of the items, and I really feel, I embody gratitude. I feel gratitude. You know, gratitude is much more than just saying, I'm grateful for the air conditioning, I'm grateful for the phone, I'm grateful for technology. You could go on and on and on and list them all day long. You've got to feel what it feels like to be thankful and grateful for whatever that item is or whatever that thing is. And that really helps me close out the year and start the new year fresh. And I started the success jar as opposed to the gratitude jar journal when I was going through an exceptionally difficult time. It was, you know, my parents were dying, and I was going through. It was just a lot. Like, I was just going through a lot. And some days when your soul feels crushed, when your body feels crushed, when you feel crushed, it can be challenging at best to think positively or to say something or think something or affirm something positive. So I started the success jar as kind of like a stepping stone. During those times when I found it really difficult to find things to be thankful and grateful for, I said, okay, what is one thing that went well that day? And it could be that I got up. It could be that my lungs were working and I could breathe. It could be any number of things. It could be the website worked right today or whatever. So big or small, whatever it is, I wrote it down and I put it in my success jar. And at first, when I was going through a really difficult time, severe depression, I would go through the success jar items every week. And then I would start new the next week. And now I've graduated to, okay, I'm going to have a self-love fest at the end of the year, you know, and that's what I do. Nice. So I share that with people because I feel like somebody needed to hear that today. And you know, a daily success ritual, which to me comprises my gratitude practice, my success jar, is really important. There's other things too, like meditation and walking and exercise and drinking water and, you know, I mean, there's just so many, you know, listening to music, you know, being with nature. There's so many different ways that you can have a daily success ritual or incorporate into that. But that is one of mine, Janine, that I think is has been really, really powerful for me and really helped me dig myself out when I was really, really low.
Oh my gosh. Tandy, that's just a beautiful articulation of what is necessary to push forward and break through out of a spin cycle of pain, the anxiety, the depression that often comes with womanhood, with caregiving, with producing, putting out all this energetic force and not having enough practice receiving, you know, receiving goodness, receiving rest, receiving peace, just receiving quiet, receiving stillness, receiving compliments, you know, receiving pampering, you know, good food, good sex, you know, good conversation, just to be the recipient of good gifts, you know.
That's right.
And so, you know, it's really, it's powerful to hear you say that. And what I like most, I mean, like so many things about what you said, and I hope our listeners are taking notes. One of the things I really want to highlight for us so that we can have this conversation in the closed Facebook group at the Supreme Love Project is this. You said it's important to list what you're grateful for and also to feel grateful. See, that I think is so significant. I have a blog that I refer to often, and I did a Facebook Live post about this. It's Why Your Positive Affirmations Don't Work. That's the title. Why Your Positive Affirmations Don't Work. It's because we don't believe the positive affirmations. And one of the reasons that some people give up on the gratitude journal is they say, well, I listed all these things, but so what? Look at all these things I don't have. And I think to myself, and I say to the person, the reason that gratitude journal didn't hit you in the gut is because you didn't feel anything in relation to what you wrote.
That's right.
There needs to be an emotive response, an emotive attachment to what you are articulating and making visible, because if you don't feel it, it's not really real for you.
That's right.
It's not. It's just a remote practice. It's mechanical. It doesn't mean anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you can write 1,000 lists. You can say 100 mantras and affirmations. But if you're not feeling it, wow, then you need some assistance. And so we're going to have to wrap things up right now. But I just want to leave them with that. If you're not feeling, get in touch with me. Get in touch with Tandy. Get in touch with another coach who you feel a resonance with, and relearn how to feel. Relearn how to connect with your body, how to crush that cold, that iciness that's been built up around your soul, so that you can live out loud again, so that you can connect with yourself and intimate with others. So Tandy, listen, I want to ask you, please, to give to us 3 parting gifts. You've given to us so much already, and it might be a repeat of what you've already said, but I'm thinking of 3 questions, methods, ideas, key words that a woman can walk away from this conversation with, holding in her heart, holding in her head, and move forward with next steps.
Sure. So 3 questions that I would ask. Number 1.
Okay.
Are you living your life with passion and purpose?
Okay.
Second question. Do you love yourself first? We talked about putting other people first. Do you love yourself first? And if you do, how does that show up? What is it that you do or say on a consistent basis that demonstrates to you and your subconscious mind that you put yourself first, that you love yourself first? And if you don't, and if you can't think of anything, that is definitely something to work on. And the third question is, are you leading a life that matters? Are you creating a legacy beyond yourself that can live on through your loved ones, through your friends, through your clients, through whoever you touch in life? And if you are not happy with the legacy that you are creating, that's another sign, to really dig deep. And usually that's connected to number 1, which is, being confident and courageous if you take passionate action towards your life purpose. And if you're not doing that, then it's difficult to create that legacy. So those would be the 3 things I think that are really important.
Well, I think that they're amazingly and stunningly important. Thank you so much. Tandy, this has been a wonderful interview. I appreciate your time. We appreciate you so much at the Supreme Love Project on behalf of my community and yours and the other members of other groups who are tuned in right now to us all over the world. Thank you for the richness of this discussion and for your free gifts. These are wonderful.
Well, thank you, Janine. It's been such an honor.
Yes. All right. So everyone tuning in, please remember, take this message to heart, build it into your body, and we will see you on the next episode of a Supreme Love Project. Bye-bye.
Thank you for participating in the Supreme Love Project. We're a division of Literacy for Life, LLC. Please visit thesupremeloveproject.com for more information about our products and services. Visit JanineStaples.com for more information about our beloved founder and president. And remember, take this message to heart and build it into your body. We'll see you next time, right here. The place to make love, not war, every day of your life.